All right, hi everybody. This is A7X Fan Ben here with God Mason and Xerix, and this is episode number 15 of the Pirate CSG podcast. This episode, we're going to be doing our usual custom reviews of the odd numbered episode, and then we got some other topics for the next chunk of it. So I'll just start off right away. Custom ships organized version. We've pretty much covered all of Captain Vendari's customs, we think. So I'm just going to go straight to the Silvaxry. So I'm going to be looking at the Bolt, which is a pirate ship with 2 masts. The cannons are 4S, 3L, 2 cargo, L move. The ship cannot be pinned. Ramming doesn't eliminate the ship's mass. And then the new ability, it says once per turn, this ship may take another move action after a ram. It may not make another ramming attempt during this movement. This one strikes me as kind of a niche ship. It's not really great at fighting or gold. But it's really good at ramming and taking rams. It would be good maybe to just try to ram enemy ships like all the time. I would probably want like maybe a helmsman and same action twice crew possibly. It would definitely be complicated with pirate code rulings on moving after the ram, because that would get a little weird. Because it does say another move action. So I guess, that wouldn't be a free action. So that would be like a whole second action for the turn. So I guess with a captain, that could be quite powerful. So, but it depends on the ram. That's a
sail in, ram, shoot, or whichever comes first. And then because you can't be pinned, you can do another move action to move away and shoot some more. Since it says you can't do another ram attempt.
Yeah, kind of like a captain reverse captain.
There's something I'd like to mention. While it seems like the ability prohibits this, I'm wondering if it would be useful to make a clarification if it cannot make any ram attempts on any ships, or if it just can't make one against the ship it just rammed.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I would say no rams at all, probably.
Yeah, I would
assume the former, clear. I think. Yeah. It may not make another ram attempt.
Yeah.
I think that kind of says it straightforward. You doesn't matter what you try to target with a ram, you can't ram it.
Yeah.
Just like that no other abilities clause in the broadsides attack.
Yeah. Aside from that, I think it's kind of neat, but I'm not sure I'd pay any more than about 8 points for it. I know that there are no costs attached to these, so I'm just going to throw that onto the ship.
That makes sense to me. Sounds about right. I think it would need playtesting, though, especially with the...
Yeah.
It's like a weird, automatic double action without any detriment, really. Unless you lose the boarding party, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, 8 points maybe. I could see maybe 9 or 10, because that's an interesting ability.
Yeah, and it does have those other 2 abilities. It can't take ram damage in the first place, which is a good one for a small ship.
Yeah.
That's a good hit and run ship, yeah.
Like, imagine if you put Plague on this.
Oh, man.
Or if Plague found its way onto this thing.
Yeah, Plague's actually a good one to use for that. Also, wait, maybe Spanish Main Hawkins?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Is there any more to say any more for us to say about this ship?
I don't think so. I don't know. It would need playtesting. I think it would be interesting at all. Very interesting.
Like, if it had, I'm imagining the sails have, a giant bolt painted on them because of the name.
Lightning bolt.
Or, a giant nut. One of the two.
Like the Zeus or something. Yeah.
I'm not sure their machining was that good back then.
Yeah.
I thought of something weird with, chaining. You could, ram an enemy ship to get home, which is weird. You could ram a ship that, if you're not in range of your home island with, LS with a helmsman, you could ram another ship and then use the second move to cover the final distance or something.
Yeah, kind of like a bumper car.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like bumper car. Yeah, or into a fog bank for safety or something.
Yeah, the bumper car though, that might be the idea of this ship. And actually, what if there was a version of this ship that had no limit to the number of actions as long as you could keep chaining rams, but they couldn't be on a ship you've previously rammed that turn.
Yeah. That would be super OP in big games.
Yeah, it would. Well, what if it was a 2-masted ship and was no good at boarding?
Yeah. As long as you had one within L, you could keep going and going.
Yeah. All right. Should we skip on to Xerek's major post?
Actually, you wouldn't be able to keep going because then you'd be pinned, I guess. That's
we
didn't even talk. I should have mentioned that, I guess, at the beginning. Let me go back up to it. That's kind of weird.
The bolt cannot be pinned,
right?
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
the bolt
cool.
cannot be pinned.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yep, as 3
also,
abilities. Yeah.
Quick interruption because I have a question about that. Does that override the thing when a scorpion pins a ship by dropping its blade on it?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it
up. Well,
right
thematically, I would say no because you've been stuck by a giant blade and you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I had a similar thought. Wolf has probably answered that at some point, but we can ask again if need be.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
All right. Should we skip on to the next post and find another piece to talk about? All right.
I'm good with that. I think the next post is mine.
I'm just gonna scroll down until. Oh wait, somebody was talking about Plague, right? There's a ship in here called Plague, which is a cursed ship. It's 16 points. It's a 4-master, 3S, 3L, 3L, 3S, 3 cargo, L movement, eliminates 2 masts with 1 hit.
I think you guys may have covered that one already.
Did we?
In the spreadsheet, because that one is from
is this
Turner
from
Davy
the
Jones.
I've just wasted 15 or 20 seconds on here. Is there one you think we haven't done yet?
Anything from Fiends of the Blood Islands, which is way at the bottom of the post.
Yeah, go with
Okay.
So it's down there.
Well, why don't we do the one at the very bottom? The one that, oh God, how do I pronounce this?
Where is it?
Milo Akuo?
I'm scrolling back up. The Milo Akuo?
Yeah, it's the last one.
All right.
Special edition ship.
Yeah, this one is, so it's an American catamaran, a 2-masted catamaran. It's 14 points. Its guns are both 3S, 4 cargo, SS move, and it's got the reroll ability, and it ignores terrain when given a move action. This reminds me a lot of, which one was it? I want to say HMS Hermes?
Yeah. I think it's like, I think this one combines the abilities of the Hermes and the Skipping Stone.
Yeah, yes, it does. I guess that's decent. I don't think either of those ships are anything really to write home about, but I suppose this is actually a pretty solid one if you're going to use it in a game with, say, mysterious islands and a lot of terrain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's okay. The price is kind of high for what I'd pay for an English Gold Runner. I mean, you could make it a hybrid.
It's American.
Or, sorry, American. Yeah, same problems, really. You could make it a hybrid, but I don't know. It's solid. I think the point cost is correct. I just wouldn't use it all that much. I could use some other ships instead. But
I don't think it's well armed enough to be a hybrid. I think it's more of kind of just a defensive Gold Runner is all it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking like with reroll and then defensive ability and then Captain Humsman, 2 spaces open. Not a great hybrid, but still reasonable.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Let's see, keep scrolling down. Cazador's got some here. Would somebody like to pick one?
I believe that's me. How many of these have you guys covered?
We talked about some of them.
Or do you know?
I remember talking about the Tenfold. I think we talked about Gladius Day. I can't remember the other ones, though.
Yeah, I think we've talked about, as well as Edelweiss.
Yeah. I think most of the other ones are fair game.
I'm just going to go to the bottom of his post, like we did for mine. There's a crew called Rady Jaeger, I believe. Right, it's a crew. Belongs to the Empire/France, 6 points. Links to the Lupus and the Lupus Regnum. Captain and born leader.
Which is basically sad.
Yeah. It's kind of like reminds me of Lady Rominata or Romata from Return to Savage Shores.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost the exact same abilities and point costs and whatnot.
Yeah, it is the same, just a different link. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good combination. Because of how good it is, I'd say you could almost make it 1 point more. But in keeping with what WizKids would cost stuff, that's fair.
Yeah, it's a great.
Yeah, Yeah, they costed Roy Monta at about the same point cost, so... And it makes sense. They're both 3-point abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I have an update from the Pirate Code. Under Scorpion, it says, the blade may be used to damage ships with abilities that state they cannot be pinned, but it will not pin those ships. So the ability still works.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's nice.
Cool.
I'd rather pin the ship.
Yeah.
Makes thematic sense.
All right. I think the next post is mine. So what I'm actually going to do is read off a crew idea I came up with in the last couple days. So it's called Otte. It's a Viking crew, 12 points. Limit Eternal. Once per turn before the ship is given an action, roll a d6. On a result of 6, every die roll made for this ship is automatically a 6.
Only on a 6?
Only if you get a 6 on your initial die roll.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay. Huh.
Okay, this is a Viking.
Wait, so
Viking crew.
Huh.
Limit Eternal, 12 points.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, they have some longships where he would fit pretty well, so you could still have him, Captain Huntsman, on the Nagling or something.
And I want to say they have
They got a lot of expensive ships.
Do they have a fleet admiral?
Yeah, Sigurd. Yep.
Yeah. If you could fit
they
him
do. Sigurd Anderson.
Either, if you could fit him in either fleet admiral or SAT, depending on the size of the game, I'd say maybe this could be pretty effective. But
yeah, it is pretty extreme.
Hello?
I mean, it's cool, but I think Shayna, she's got captain and reroll, so you could reroll the initial roll to try to get a 6. I don't know. It seems kind of OP, but between the cost and having to reset it each turn, it seems pretty fair, I guess, for the most part. So
yeah. Are you having difficulties there, Xerax?
That was odd.
Oh, did you lose audio or something?
Sort of, but not quite. You guys got mangled.
Oh, okay.
And you sound like you were robots for a second that were like dying or something.
Nice. Oh, my secret's out.
Nice. So I'm wondering if my computer's overheating or something. So I've turned on my little fan here to help cool it off.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. Any thoughts on the crew or no?
I like Eternal. I'm imagining if you got like that 6 with like the opening salvo of like one of the accurate longships.
Yeah.
Or like heck, even if you got that first 6 with even one of their more inaccurate longships, like the ones that have 5 guns on them, a 6 hits. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I think maybe we could find like a game or something to play test that in.
Yeah.
And it's got limit too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it gets kind of wacky or wackier with like Cavendish on a cursed 10 master, because then you could start putting it on a ship.
Like the Delusion.
Yeah. And then,
especially if you combine it with like the 2d6. Oh wait, no, that'd be kind of superfluous because that's sort of meant to be a reusable reroller.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could stack it with a reroller if you wanted to do that, but
you could even without Nemo's plans, even using Runes of Thor once to get a 6 on the initial die roll and make that turn like really good, that one turn could swing a game potentially. In a
yeah.
So
But at the same time, that relies on the luck of being able to find Runes of Thor in the first place.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's like
true.
Like my justification is it's super powerful, but it's expensive. You use up your limit keyword, and
it's doing it again.
And it's based on luck.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Xeric's Return of Davy Jones. We're on to the American faction now. So I'll start with the first ship, which is another version of USS Constitution. This one is 17 points, 5 masts, 4 cargo, L movement. The cannons are 3L, 2L, 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 3L, and then the ship ignores the first hit she takes each turn as long as she have all her mass, and then the ship gets +1 to her boarding rolls. This one strikes me as about right, point cost wise. I don't know, it seems about right. Could be maybe a point more expensive, but it's got some solid abilities, real nice cannons, pretty average in terms of cargo and move, and point cost for 5-master, but kind of follows the rest of American 5-masters, just really good, pretty consistently awesome.
It's a reasonably well-equipped ship, but I am I'm not so sure about it because that ability reminds me of HMS Lord Algernon, which, while slower, has considerably better armament.
A little bit better, not a lot better.
Oh, wait, a little bit better.
2 S's and 3 L's,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, USS Constitution, this version of it has more cargo and it's faster, and we do know the speed is a game winner. So Algernon, despite being cheaper and better armed, is a bit more avoidable.
Yeah. I think you could argue this could be a worse Constitution than the other two, maybe. I would say it's probably better than the Ocean's Edge version, but that one is 15 points, so you could move LS for the same point cost. But
that one also has all rank 2 cannons.
Yeah, which is only a slight improvement over the 3Ls cannons. But if you're not facing the pirates, this one, the custom one is probably better. But the Revolution one, of course, is its own class or whatever. So it's a good ship.
Yeah.
If El Corzado wasn't in the game, it would be possibly the best gunship out there.
Yeah.
That's up for debate, but I'm not sure we have time for that argument.
Yeah, I would say that's true, along with the Endeavor, those 3.
And San Cristobal.
Yeah.
Well, the San Cristobal, in my opinion, is more of like a super hybrid.
Yeah. It is, but at the same time, getting off the first shot is pretty important, based on how the game's shooting mechanics work, and it's always going to get the first shot.
Unless it gets canceled at the last second.
You got me there.
Cristobal is great in gold games and 40-point games, but one-on-one, it's not quite as good a gunship. So it shines better in balanced games rather than death matches. So
indeed.
I think I'll skip on to doing Strife now, which is a 15-point ship, and for that you get 4 guns, 2S, 3L, 3L, 2S, 3 cargo, L movement, and the blockade runner keyword, which is something I can't remember, which is +1 to ram and boarding rolls.
I've had a lot of consternation about this keyword.
Yeah. I don't know. It's statistically, it's pretty good in most areas, but it also seems a little bit underwhelming because you can get much better gunships for this price. Some of the better crew the Americans have don't really justify going out of your way to use this ship over comparable stuff. I mean, for this price, I'm pretty sure you can get HMS Gallows, or is that a point more?
Yeah, it's 16.
I think that Gallows is a point more, but for 15 and staying American, I think you can get the Egan.
Yeah,
the Egan's pretty good. The Americans have a lot of ships, 3 or 4 masts at 15 points that are really pretty good. I think Ghostwalker comes to mind. Ghostwalker has a better ability and not quite as good armament, probably, but I think it's faster.
The Ghostwalker has all 2L cannons.
Yeah, so it's similar overall. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd almost rather use Ghostwalker.
Yeah, I would too, because canceling, but I'm not too worried about that. I think Strife is good. Not every ship has to be top of the class, so I think it's kind of a good numbers ship for the Americans. Kind of yet another, kind of like the Constitution too, of this set. Kind of like yet another good, large American gunship, really. So
yeah. Although when I make systems, I try to make them things that are going to be probably worth going out of your way to build a strategy around to use, but I guess that's really just coming down to a difference in philosophy behind customs between me and Xerox.
Yeah. Same here, because I make a ton of historical ships, which inevitably not all of them will be interesting, so it's more of a number thing, so, yeah. And
not all of mine will be fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you think fair? Just wait. Some of these, I think, are gonna raise some ire.
Oh, we've seen plenty of interesting ideas from you.
Oh, okay.
I don't mean interesting in a bad way. I'm just saying overpowered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
like the first one of this with the curse. That was wacky. Anyway.
Yeah, that one was fun to listen to.
Yeah, that battleship keyword, us raging against it.
Looks like it's coming up soon.
Oh, and there's another battleship keyword down here too.
Yeah,
we'll get to that later.
I've seen a lot of pictures of that one. Okay. I guess I'll go with the next one. The Lone Star is 21 points, 4 masts, 3 cargo, L move. Cannons are 3L, 2S, 2S, 3L. It's a Switchblade, and it gets +1 to boarding rolls, which is great for that keyword. I guess cost-wise, it's about what WizKids would have done with a Switchblade. Kind of reminds me of the other Switchblades, really. I mean, same movement for the most part. The cargo's kind of low. I mean, as Switchblades go, I'd say it's average. They're pretty expensive to use in games under 60 points, but it's about right for a Switchblade, so it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, being an American Switchblade, it reminds me of course, my own custom, the Sawmill, which I won't read off. You guys can probably find it in my customs post, dear listeners. But one of my problems with Switchblades is that they were always so expensive, and being in line with what WizKids would have costed it never really seemed like a perfect idea to me, because WizKids did utterly botch the prices of a lot of ships.
Yeah, true.
And abilities. Fear, Switchblade, and Scorpion
shouldn't have existed.
I think,
the way it's constructed,
maybe
it should not have
but
existed.
I think you're right there. Too expensive and not effective enough.
Yeah. And I'm looking at your Switchblade. I think yours is clearly superior.
Yeah. I mean, that may be another reason why I like it. But, I mean, Switchblades do have a boarding focus.
Yeah, that's true.
And while this one, I mean, and the thing with boarding is you've got to catch your prey.
Yeah.
And with a base move of L, you absolutely need a helmsman and probably extra actions.
Yeah.
Because most of the stuff that's going to be worth boarding is going to be fast.
This is true. Unless, you wait for it to come to you.
Yeah. Sometimes with something like this, too, I kind of think of it as like a capital ship because of the point cost and the abilities. So I would still want those extra actions, but I wouldn't be, I don't know, I kind of think of it as like a slugfest between this and like another capital ship. So, usually.
Yeah, especially since I think you can, as a free action, retract the blades in and put them back out after you shoot. Yeah. So you can sail up, fire all your cannons, throw the blades out, which then do ram damage.
Yeah.
As I understand the keyword to function.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, this was meant for up close and personal melee combat.
Yep.
Yeah. Even then,
I might link. It's meant for it against the Spanish.
Look at. Are we throwing faction abilities into custom sets?
Well, read on.
All right. So what I'm going to leave that comment with is, as my mother said, if you can't say anything nice.
I know that saying too.
Yeah, but I think I'll have plenty to say anyway. Wait.
You get the next one.
Yeah. USS Mississippi, which as a 4th grade second place spelling bee contest. Wait, no, 2nd place 4th grade. Did I say that, or did I say it the other way around? Okay.
I don't know.
Either way, I got 2nd place because I misspelled the word. Misspelled. Trivia. Mississippi is spelled incorrectly is what I'm here to bitch at. But,
Did I spell it wrong?
Yes, it's MISSISSIPPI, not 2 I's on the end. Both sets
I'll
of
edit the spreadsheet.
All right. Yeah, anyway, I'll stop stalling on the name. This is 15 points for a 4-masted ship, 5 cargo, so significantly more than any of the others we've talked about so far. SS move, 4S, 3S, 3S, 4S, steamboat, which is something I've got to go back and read again. Steamship
Plus
or
Elder
steamboat?
Printed base move.
Okay, helmsman may not be
interchangeable.
Okay, so this is actually
clocking along with a max speed, of S plus S plus L.
Okay.
And
yeah, that plus one of the ship's treasures is worth +2 gold when unloaded at your home island. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've seen that ability, which I think we can all agree is pretty game-changing, on ships about 2 points cheaper that are way slower. And they're still considered some of the best gold runners in the game.
Yeah, this one is...
Yeah, this
good.
one seems like if you just threw an Explorer on it, it would be one of the best gold runners in the game already.
Yeah.
If not possibly the outright best, because you'll always outrun Banshee's Cry.
Yeah, well, if you chuck one of the Montana Mazes on board, the one that links to all American ships,
you
got sim action twice, and
you can throw Wayne Nolan on as well, and not even need to. And you can end up with another link there, and still have 4 cargo, and a 55% chance of an extra accident
or same. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is way too good. The guns don't matter because it's almost untouchable with how fast it is.
Yeah, it's really good.
This is one of my original 10 custom ships ever devised.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's what I thought.
Back then, I was very extreme.
Yeah.
Back when I was starting to publish these things.
Yeah. I think it could use playtesting at maybe 17 or 18 points in reasonably priced games like 100 points or less. See how that goes. You used it well in your campaign games, right?
Yeah, it's been, I think, at one point or another, launched for every campaign we've played.
Yeah.
By the Americans. I think, at least from the time I built it.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Mississippi missed the 2015 game because I hadn't yet figured out how to properly build it. I think its first game of action was that Winter Economy game.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe.
And she did well, right?
Yeah, she was all right.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother was using it, so he does odd things.
Okay.
This isn't the one who fiddlesticks. My brothers both of them do weird things, but this one in particular, in my opinion, does very odd things. Mm-hmm. For example, he thinks the Executioner from Davy Jones' Curse is a good gunship.
Yeah, I think it's great. For the Curse.
Okay, within the Curse, that's okay. Yeah.
Oh,
but he brings that to death matches when I'm throwing the Grand Temple against him. It's like, dude, choose something else.
Yeah, it's kind
He's
of
like, no, it's good.
Yeah.
And I'm boggled by his insistence on putting that version of El Phantasma from that set on the ship. He's like, if I put it on here, I get a +2 to my cannon. He's like, it doesn't matter if I get the first shot, dude. Yeah. He's like, no, it'll work. I'm like, okay,
it'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, then he's doubling up on fear, I think.
Yeah, it's like, he's wasting a ton of points. It's like, dude, this is not going to ever work.
Okay, I'll move on to the next one. USS Venture is a 15-point schooner, 4 masts, 3 cargo, L movement. All 4 cannons are 2S, and then it has the battleship and schooner keyword. And battleship is basically similar to 2 shots per mast, and then extended range as well. I'm pretty sure I've already kind of knocked this ship in custom ships, I think. And I've seen it.
I can say with certainty this has been in every campaign.
Yeah, because I was about to say that. I know it's wreaked a lot of havoc in those. I've seen it. It's got the big beat sails. Yeah. I'd say
I think in the most recent one we played in the summer, I went to extreme lengths to sink this thing.
Yeah.
I missed twice.
Yeah. I think 20 points would be a better starting point, and then if anything, maybe go up from there.
Yeah. I mean, even if you took away the extended range thing, this has better firepower than any octopus or kraken in the game.
Yeah. With Captain Helmsman, guaranteed every time.
Yeah, so you can put crew on it, and because it's American, you could put Ralph David on and basically not lose it.
Yeah. I mean, I know the firepower, it's much more fragile, but on a base level, it's actually comparable to the Zeus for 8 points less, because you're getting 8 ranked, 2S shots versus 10
as opposed to 10 rank 3S.
Yeah.
S plus S range, too.
Yeah.
So you can get past what's annoying, cannot be shot with an S ships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I don't think we need to say any more.
Like I said, this is one of my original customs from way back when the thread had 2 pages in it.
Yeah, nice.
And, yeah.
Cool.
I made some extreme things. This is one of them.
Yeah. Some of the costs could be adjusted in this faction here.
And the abilities too, I think.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. USS New Ironsides. I'll speed it along. 14 points, 3 masts, which are 2S, 3L, 2S. This is 3 cargo, SS move, ironclad, which in Xerex's set means you must roll a 5 or 6 to hit the ship, which I think is a pretty good implementation of the keyword as a whole. This ship's cannons may not be eliminated. Must still be if derelict, she cannot shoot. Why do I feel like I've seen a ship like this for 1 more point? Like at 3 masts, I'm fairly sure.
Maybe the Belle of Exeter from Spanish Main?
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure Belle of Exeter, wasn't that 2 masts with 1 hit?
No, the Belle of Exeter has that second ability, and I think is a 1 point more.
Yeah,
but it's a little bit slower.
And I think Belle of Exeter has much worse guns too.
Yeah.
Belle of Exeter is 3S, 4L, 3S, is 2 points more expensive, and has a worse base move.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted it to be, Belle of Exeter is not a good ship, so I guess it's not really a good point of reference. Although, because they're such similar ships, I'm inclined to compare them. And if I'm honest, something this durable with this decent of armament, I can honestly say I can see costing 17 or 18 points.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say, as an errata note, world hitting bonuses will count against these ships. So if you've got, a 3S cannon with +2 to the cannon rolls, you're basically rolling a 5 or 6 every time you're hitting each and every time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that changes your mind or not, but...
Not really, no. You're kind of sacrificing points to buff your rolls if you're doing that anyway.
Yeah, I agree with God Mason. Thematically, I think the abilities make sense, but it's not, it's not one I'll like either way. So, we'll go on to the next one, though. USS Falcon is 12 points. It's a 3-masted schooner with 3 cargo, SS move. The cannons are 2S, 3L, 3S. And then the ship gets +1 to her boarding rolls with a captain. So kind of a little twist on the, +1 to cannon rolls with a captain. A little worse, but still a solid bonus. I see it as about right. It could be maybe 10 or 11 points. It's kind of just a generic gunship, which I think is fine. So it's okay.
I think you're pretty right about that in every way. This seems like what I would call pack filler, although it's not especially bad for pack filler. I would say you're right, 10 or 11 points. I'd be kind of inclined to say 10 because it's a little scattered. But what? Was there a pun there that I missed or something? Or
no,
not for me.
Okay. Yeah, it just because when you're going to pick a ship, you want something focused, something good at its ability, and this seems a little bit all over the place. And 10 points, even then, it wouldn't be competitive with the best at that point cost. But yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
All right. I'll start Silver Dollar then. 14 points, and this is 3 masts. 4S, 3L, 4S. It's a schooner. SS move, 6 cargo space. So
Alcazador about lost his mind when I first posted this. I don't know why.
Does he have a similar ship, or?
No, he for some reason he thought it obsoleted half the American Navy. I
don't
know why.
It kind of does, because the Americans don't really have all that many good gold runners. But
okay, fair enough.
My complaint is that this seems kind of like a worse version of HMS Lady Provost, which I think costs the same and moves faster, as well as being a home island raider.
Yeah, I think it's 13. Yeah. It's still. Oh yeah, it's okay. I I thought it was a 4-master for some reason.
No,
Yeah,
it's a 3.
Provost is 2 masts and
Yeah, I
1
know.
point cheaper. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think it's good. I used it in the custom suite challenge recently. I think it's good. I don't know. I mean, it's a very good gold run for the Americans, kind of uncharacteristic for them. But, I mean, they still have some other solid options. Like the Rattlesnake in Carolina, you could do pretty good things with them for considerably less points. And then if you had more points to spend, I would get
you
the
could get the Providence, maybe.
Yeah, or the Frontier.
Or the Frontier, yeah.
Yeah, and really go. That one would be amazing. So I don't think it makes everything obsolete. I think it's kind of like a expensive American treasure running option. If you don't want to go all out and get the Frontier, I think it could be 15 points or maybe 5 cargo and still be pretty competitive as the Americans go. But I think it's pretty solid as is.
If I'm going to say something to compliment it, it's certainly better than Colonial Trader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way better.
Although I did just remember that I want to say the Pirates have multiple 4-masters in Crimson Coast alone that kind of make this hard to justify. Maybe, I'm not sure if Arabella is the right one. Maybe Shadow.
Cassandra?
Yeah, Cassandra. Yeah, no, they've got like a bunch of ships named for women.
I really like that one.
Yeah.
I try to use it as often as possible when I can. It's a nice, durable gold runner.
Yeah.
I honestly think you could maybe make this 4 masts. I'm going to go in the opposite direction of Ben and say you could almost make it a little bit better.
I disagree. I think it's pretty good.
I mean, I do think it's pretty good in the context of the Americans, but in the grand scheme of the game, if you're looking to run gold and use that kind of strategy, you don't really go to the Americans very often.
No, typically you go to Spain or you go to the Pirates.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes the French or Corsairs as well, because they've got a lot of really good empty options.
Yeah.
All right, that's the one redeeming factor about my brother. He likes to use the Corsairs in campaigns.
Nice.
I hope he doesn't hear this podcast.
He probably won't. He probably won't. And if he does, he'll just give me a glare or something.
Or a punch on the shoulder.
I think. I'm not positive, but I think all of these ships except the Lone Star are actually built.
Nice.
So I think I have them all in a bin somewhere.
Cool. Yeah.
I need to assemble a bunch of my own customs.
I'll move on to the crew. Captain Robert Stern is a 6-point captain and firepot specialist, and he links to the Falcon, which is that, somewhat generic 3-masted schooner. It was a reasonably average gunship. I think he should be 5,
makes
though.
Sense.
I think he should be 5 for those 2 abilities, Captain and Firepot Specialist. No reason not to make it 5.
Yeah, but we can all agree that Firepot Specialists are very powerful.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I still don't think they're... I think they're a little overhyped, personally, but they're pretty good.
Okay, do you remember the first few battles of Command the Oceans with all the fire?
Yeah, of course, but yeah.
So...
that's not really indicative of how games are usually played.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a pretty one-of-a-kind game. I think I like the Link, though. It makes the Falcon a little bit better, which is nice, because he's kind of average, so... I think it's good, but he should be 5, so...
Yeah. Flavor-wise, this guy is, I believe he's Robert Stern's brother. Actually, no.
Peregrine Stern?
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I meant Peregrine Stern from Savage Shores. Flavor-wise, he's supposed to be his brother or son or something.
Yeah.
Maybe both.
You could link him to...
How could he be his brother and his son?
Let's not get into that.
You could link both of them if you wanted, and then you could put them on the Constitution or something, like the RV version, if you wanted to do a double link.
Yeah, well, they're both captains, so that you would have double captain.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll jump on to Lieutenant Stanley Hood. L-E-Y, by the way, I think is the correct way to spell Stanley, unless it's supposed to be Stanley, in which case I won't tell you what to do. Linked to Lone
Star. Name however you want.
linked to Lone Star. It's 7 points. It's a Marine with bonuses against Spanish stuff. We know how I feel, A, about Marines being too expensive, B, about faction abilities, and C, about Lone Star.
Yeah. Yeah, I can kind of agree with all those too, actually. Man. That'd be crazy to use him on the Lone Star, because then you'd have 5 cannons, but 28 points without other crew. Anyway,
Yep.
I don't know.
Maybe better he's put on a submarine, because the Americans have a couple good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be good on Layman and Mercury.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to go crazy, I guess William Eaton is 7 points. So Hood, Eaton, and a helmsman would all fit on the Mercury if you wanted to do a double attack with that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, really. But yeah, I agree with God Mason. I've already talked about it on previous episodes that Marines should have been 4 or 5 base costs. So the next one is Captain Stephen Rogers. He's 9 points. Links to all American ships. His abilities are Captain, and then he has the Admiral ability. So if you roll a 6, any ship in your fleet may be given 2 actions that turn. So that's good cost. The link is similar, makes him similar to Preble from Barbary Coast, but he has Captain as well. I think you'd see a lot of
Which I would say makes him a little better.
Yeah, the Captain is nice. Saves the cargo space. You see a lot of usage in big games, but yeah, good crew. So.
Yeah.
I mean, a self-linking Captain is almost always worth their salt, and one with this pair of abilities would be, I think, exceptionally good in large games.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't he basically, dang, I can't remember. What's the fleet admiral the Americans got in Barbary Coast who links to everything? Preble, yeah. Yeah, so it's basically Preble, but 3 more points and with the Captain ability. So, yeah, this is an exceptionally good crew and in line with fair point cost.
He's
an Avenger.
I hadn't remembered him before, so hopefully I won't use him in CG3. Already got 3 admirals in that game, so.
Hey, he's here for the taking.
Yeah, we'll see.
So to speak.
All right.
I can fairly say that you probably will not use this next person.
Okay, I'll have to check them out. Nah, probably not.
Yep.
Better than Hacksaw Riley, though.
Yeah, but that's not saying much.
Who we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is better than Hacksaw Riley.
What about the Tiger Empress?
No, not quite.
Yes.
No.
Really? That's better than Hacksaw?
No.
Yes, because I think while Tiger's terrible, you can at least use it for something, whereas Hacksaw Riley's basically a waste of 5 points.
Yeah. You do know we're talking about the crew from Ocean's Edge, the pirate thing?
Oh, wait.
It's like, if you ram a sea monster...
Empress I found a use for.
What?
A really niche use for, if I'm honest.
Okay,
I didn't.
This I want to hear.
I think this was maybe in my turtle ships ranking thread. I want to say. My idea was basically, now let me go pull it up. I'm fairly sure that the pirates have a turtle ship that does that ramming damage ability. Here, I'm going to try to find the ranking.
Glorious Treasure?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Beast's Belly.
Okay, yeah, Beast's Belly. So my suggestion was you could put Empress on Beast's Belly if you knew your opponent was going to be using sea creatures, because then if you I'm trying to read Empress here, but it's like off to the side of the page, and okay. So if you succeeded with a ram roll with Empress on board Beast's Belly, you would destroy 3 segments in a single ram.
Yeah.
Okay, but when do you ever ram a sea creature? I have never, ever seen that happen.
Yeah, I don't know if
I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm saying in theory. In theory.
Yes.
It's a possibility.
That's the problem with talking to Xerix and I, because we're the two theory-based people you could talk to.
Yeah, I know.
played like
revalue your results a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, it's more likely to happen the other way around, where the sea monster rams into you.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, but odds are if you're playing with a turtle ship, you've cleared up beforehand that you're going to use a house rule that they aren't immediately disabled when you ram them.
Yeah. Hopefully that would happen.
Yeah.
And I guess Empress, if you were super desperate to use it, it's 5 points. You could technically bring it in with the Zero R plus 5, I guess. So.
Yeah, maybe for like one of those garbage fleet challenge things, like build the worst possible fleet.
Yeah. All right, so
it's going back to Dear Joanna. And in addition to the doctor ability, she also does +1 to boarding rolls.
Yep, exactly.
For 6 points.
For 6 instead of 7, so it's not too bad. Maybe I'll try to use her in CG3. It would probably just be because I have so many points and gold to use that I just run out of named crew to use. So if I use her, it'll probably be on like a ship with a lot of cargo. It has like a ton of other crew, which would probably be generic. So, but
like the Sanfu or something, maybe.
I've already got that one loaded up, so I don't want to use her on that one. So. Yeah, that one's already at 24 out of 25 points. So
there is one thing I would like to mention. Every time the thing with Joanna Smith, which I think is the problem, is you mentioned earlier when we were talking about USS Mississippi, the existence of OE Montana Maze, which has the same crew protection ability, but instead of a bonus to boarding rolls, you get SAT and it links. Yeah. So I think Joanna Smith, maybe if cheaper, could have niche use, but
yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, the crew protectability from Maze, I think that's kind of like 4 on most of the combined crew for the most part. So if this doctor ability was 3 instead of 5 from the original days, maybe people would actually use it. But
yeah,
it could be a cool house rule. Try it at 3 or something.
I think a point less is fair, or if you want to do the thing that I've thought of, which involves differentiating between the factions more by separating their strengths, you could maybe make it 4.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Old Man Montana's next, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an interesting setup here. Links to Strife, which is that kind of generic 4-master we talked about earlier. This is a helmsman and a musketeer for 5 points. I mean, I don't use musketeers that often, but I can see this being useful maybe on occasion on like some kind of smaller to mid-sized American gunships.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty useful, yeah.
Yeah. And not necessarily on Strife, but...
Yeah. Yeah, it's a decent link, because Strife doesn't have a lot of cargo in the first place, so... That'd be kind of... Yeah, I kind of like that link a lot, actually. Then you can get like Captain World Hater and an Oarsman or something. Or the other... Yeah, that's a pretty solid link, actually, because you get... Because you don't take up card space, and you get 2 abilities, so it's almost like 2 abilities for no cargo spaces, so... Kind of nice. Anyway...
I guess that excuses Strife a little.
Thematically, that's the same Montana Maze as we've seen throughout the regular sets.
Oh,
but this is like, him when he's old and has been like, put out to pasture.
Yeah.
If you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I updated his flavor text over here. Old Man Montana continually mutters under his breath about one thing or another, from dishonorable discharges to tall tales of battle in the high seas. Despite his apparent lunacy, the crew of the Strife trust him with their lives.
Huh, nice. Yeah, I would say, you used him in the custom fleet challenge thing here recently. He was in one of my fleets for that, so.
Did you put him on, like, the Silver Dollar, or did you put him on the Constitution?
I think it was a totally different one. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
I'll go check it out. We'll find it.
I have something really kind of irritating and predictable to say about Montana. It's spelled A-N-A. 1 N. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I can make edits to the my spreadsheet here.
Okay, so I used him on the Notre Dame because that ship allows crew of any nationality. So he's on a French 5-master with a crew protect, actually, ironically. So that ship.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so I loaded that ship up with basically has captain, helmsman, cannoneer, and musketeer, and all those crew are there to stay because of the crew protect. So pretty good 5-master.
Yeah.
And then it has, and then all those abilities are on 2 crew, so you still got some space left over for a hybrid.
Like
setup.
3, it looks like.
Yeah.
From the Notre Dame setup you got.
Yeah.
And you did use the silver dollar. You're running her empty.
Yeah. I think with the helmsman and oarsman, just for speed and protection. Yeah. Just general thoughts on the Americans from this set. Pretty good. Just a few costs to, like, Mississippi, Venture, New Ironsides. Those 3 are all in a row. All those could see their point cost rise. And then, a couple, like, 2 of the crew, like Stern and Smith, could maybe come down, in my opinion. But other than that, I like the Americans for the set for the most part. So, nice.
As somebody who likes the American faction in general, I think there's a mix of things that I actually really want in here, like Captain Stephen Rogers and Old Man Montana, but there are also a number of ships that are either just super generic or crazy OP. Obviously, if USS Mississippi, as it was written here, was ever printed, it would basically be in every fleet I play. But with that in mind, I mean, overall, you have introduced a couple ideas that I really like as somebody who does like to play as the Americans.
All right, yay!
Woo!
I did good. Do you guys want to just jump real quickly to the mercenaries? Because there are literally like 6 of them.
Oh, why not?
Okay.
Oh, there's a submarine. Oh.
Yeah, you can start. Cause I'm getting
submarine. Wait, I can start with the submarine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Just start at the top?
Well, actually, yeah, let's just start at the top.
Yeah.
And you start with the Rampage. Unless it's Rampage or something.
It's supposed to be Rampage.
Okay,
you want me to read that off, or Ben?
Yeah,
I'll read that off.
Do it. Yeah, sorry, I just had to get the spreadsheet back up. Yeah, Rampage is Mercenary 5-master. They're only one, considering WizKids. 17 points, 5 masts, 4 cargo. SS move, cannons are 3L, 2S, 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 3L. Mercenary keyword, and then it has canceling, so once per turn, one ship or crew ability with an S of the ship may use its ability that turn. So, great 5-master. I mostly know her from CG2 when my English kind of demanded that the pirates relinquish this ship. So it was kind of a hostile move. So then I kind of took over, but then the game ended soon after, so I didn't really get to use the ship. But it's a great 5-master, definitely, and it would change kind of change how the Mercs function almost, because it's such a great gunship that they never got anything bigger than 4 masts, let alone with canceling. So it's great.
Wait, was Prussian Crown pirate then?
Yeah. Prussian Crown is pirate.
Okay. Hey, like when you mentioned there were only 5-master, I'm going, wait, but then I think I'd have remembered if I saw a mercenary flag on the back of Prussian Crown. But yeah, as a whole, this is a really powerful ability for them to have, especially on such a large ship. If I'm to compare it to other ships that, were printed, I'm going to call up Ghostwalker again, but not to compare her unfavorably, because this ship is on par because it has the same ability, and it also has a trio of rank 2 guns. Sure, Mercenary, and I think Ghostwalker has SL instead of the Rampage's SS.
Yeah, Kettering is marginally slower.
Kettering
the Ghostwalker is a wind catcher.
Yeah, Kettering might be a good comparison too.
Actually, Kettering is a pretty interesting comparison. Overall, Rampage is definitely one of the best mercenary ships out there, and I think it does it well without going overboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, basically my answer to the problem of mercenaries being disposable is, well, make them super cheap. This is not ultra cheap, but it's excusable for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also give them another source of canceling outside of, the Mobilis and Christian Fior.
Yeah.
So you can use this to cancel out mercenary to make one of their own ships dock at home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
They're a cancel powerhouse among the minor factions, especially in the campaign games with the privateer rules.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention that this is like a perfect ship to put Nemo on.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe with Otte.
And I say that as somebody who's desperate to find more uses for Nemo.
Ooh. Okay, try to fit him onto a Switchblade somehow.
Yeah, the saber. I love using him on
Haven't
the saber.
I tried that?
I know Ben did.
It was like really legal or something.
The saber is a really fun ship to use Nemo with. It's crazy.
Wait, no, I tried it with Skin Flare, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's probably the second best, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the problem was just too slow in the way I set it up. Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to talk about La Vampira if I can.
Go ahead.
Alrighty, so submarines. I like submarines, and this is a 16-pointer. So it's got 3 segments, 2S, 3L, 2S, L move, and 3 cargo, neither of which are really all that special for subs. Gets +1 to cannon rolls against any ship. So this is actually 1S, 2L, 1S. That's really well armed, but here's one of the problems. Submarine is a decent ability, but it's more just kind of a neato ship type than a super cheese strategy type thing. So overall, it's kind of just a slow gunship that's really well armed and I guess able to retreat with some ease, but it's really expensive and it's still a mercenary. And that's my problem. I'd say you could maybe get away with this at 14 or 15.
Yeah, I'd say maybe 15, possibly. It reminds me of the Hephaestus and the Mercury a little bit, kind of just a slow dreadnought type sub. Really accurate, but not good at much else. I think the point cost is okay, maybe 15, but probably not less. It's pretty good, but as subs go, I'd probably rather use the Nautilus or
Mercury.
Maybe the Terror, but yeah, I would say it's pretty much in line with the other solid subs out there. So
yeah.
Although, myself, I wish subs were better than they are. So, I'm more liable to say 14 due to its shortcomings.
Yeah. All right. The next one is really. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, I thought it was something else. Treasure Island is a 16-point mercenary 4-master. It's got 6 cargo, LS move. Cannons are 4S, 4L, 4L, 4S, and then it also gets +1 to boarding rolls. So it's like a Merc Gold Runner, basically, with...
it's like a mercenary La Jolla del Sol.
Yeah, kind of with like hybrid
but a bit more,
between the amount of cannons and then the boarding roll. Maybe steal gold from any Gold Runners. And then maybe pair it with a canceller so you can dock it home. So I would say it kind of...
Originally, this ship had Dorys. But I dropped them off because A, that makes it way too good.
Yeah.
And B, because the crew that it linked to had some interesting stuff going on with, like, the Loyal Hostile.
Oh, yeah.
I think I did, like, another version of Albico Castro from Spanish Main.
Wow.
He was a mercenary, but he was loyal cursed.
Okay.
Or something. Or something odd like that.
Yeah.
I think he also had Hostile Spain on him.
Yeah, his flavor text
it was complicated and convoluted.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get to that at the very end of this.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, I think if you added a point and put Dorys back on, it would be fair.
Yeah.
Really?
That's my thought.
Yeah. I don't think you
add L plus S move.
Yes, add L plus S move. Because there are faster Gold Runners, period. And there are some Gold Runners that have more cargo as well as those that don't have the mercenary keyword, which I'll be fair, that's sort of an advantage if you're going to use it as a Gold Runner because it starts S away from your home island. But at the same time, this is really expensive for what may be your only Gold Runner in a small game. And in a big game, there are more economical choices. So I think it can afford to be a little bit better, even if you need to raise the cost.
I think it's okay. It's still pretty stacked for the most part. I would say it takes over from the Matuku as maybe the Mercs' best, like, gold runner outside of the 10 Masters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, talking about a small
Matuku's
game.
Terrible, so.
Well, talking about a small game.
Gold runners. I don't think it's that
you
bad.
know, this
As
plus
4
the
cargo,
Rampage
LS
is 33
move, decent
points.
ability, steals gold from an enemy ship, schooner keyword. It's not too bad.
Yeah, the Matuku is pretty good.
Yeah, for the Mercs, it's not bad at all. So.
I mean,
Back to what you're
as
saying
we've
about
said, in the context of a faction,
I think you have to consider
yes,
that, though.
but
you can't compare everything to Banshee's Cry. Just get
I mean, yeah, you really can't, because Banshee's Cry is so far out there and should have never been printed.
Yeah.
But I mean, part of why I like my ships to be like really unique from each other, so it can like really match the mood I'm in when I play.
Mm-hmm.
And when stuff is kind of generic, and not to say this ship is like really generic, but it's kind of that way. It's kind of forgettable and would probably sit unused in my bin, or even unthought about.
Yeah, I don't think it's generic, because the Mercs don't have anything with this much cargo outside of the 10 Masters. It's kind of like the Santa Isabel almost, with the cargo and move, kind of similar in a way.
Yeah.
So, and they don't really have.
I mean, that's true.
They don't have any 4 Masters in the first place, too. So, anyway.
I mean, that is
the
true.
Mercs do have some 4 Masters. They've got, I think it's the Forward, and there's a couple other special edition ones.
Yeah. Revolution,
there's Xiaoman's.
Devil.
Wait, no, is Xiaoman's Claws?
That's pirate, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I feel like the reason why mercenaries don't really have many big ships, and especially ones with lots of cargo, is because it's sort of antithetical to their faction as a whole. They're mercenaries. They're hired guns. They're not couriers.
Yeah,
it's not the courier faction.
Yeah, that's kind of why I didn't want the ship to have Dorys, because it kind of just gives a loophole for them to be a better standalone faction. So
yeah.
All right, new standalone faction, couriers. Every single it's just that the keyword is this ship cannot shoot when she carries treasure.
Yep.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm sure I could. I'm sure I could make a merchant faction, but I don't really feel like it because,
Yeah, isn't that like the Dutch, kind of?
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. I had a lot of Dutch ships that were very generic. I think God Mason would hate my custom set.
Yeah.
My problem with your custom set is every single crew is at least 15 points.
No, that's just like the super crew, like Nelson and people that deserve to be that powerful. So.
Jokes aside, I'm pretty sure that crew under 10 points are in the minority from your custom set. We'll have to go through some of those, honestly.
I think that was the older version. The newer version not only has better point costs and abilities, but it also has more stuff. Like I'm adding to it over time. So I added a bunch of cheap English crew. That weren't as historically important as like Nelson or Blake, like people that are like like the gods of Britain's war heroes. You know what I mean? So they kind of had to be like super powerful because they're like the Davy Jones and Blackhearts of England and France. So
let's go through some of yours in the next odd numbered episode then.
Yeah, I kind of thought about that, but it's kind of wacky. So
yeah. Anyways, you guys can probably hit the super rares and limited editions on the next podcast, then go to Ben's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although there's not many of them either.
Yeah.
I mean, after the Americans, like the number of pieces in my set, because I recently added went through and numbered everything. The last piece in the Americans is like number 105, and there are only like 120 pieces in Return of Davy Jones. So there's only like 15 more, and we're covering the mercenaries, which are 106 to 111.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about my custom set too, is because like I don't really have much interest in making like multiple sets, so mine's just like all of like naval history is like the ideal like end goal. So there's like no limit to how many pieces. So I know I'm above like 300 or 400 at this point, but not all those numbers are filled in. So
maybe once you finish up with mine, we'll go through El Cazador's spreadsheet.
Yeah, maybe Queens of the Blood Islands, probably.
I don't have a spreadsheet for that ready. I mean, I'm still releasing the Blood Islands and I'm gonna break this out now. There's bonus packs coming for Fiends the Blood Islands.
Yeah. Well, I could look at the organized version stuff. So.
Oh yeah, the organized version. Yeah, you could go through there. Like start with Spain.
Yeah.
All right.
Moving on.
Yeah, I'll talk about this version of Captain Nemo, which is, I would argue, because it's more usable than the Mysterious Islands version, is better overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we could get into a debate about that too, but I'm not sure.
Loyal, mercenary, hostile, pirate, expat, captain, and helmsman.
Yep. So it's basically the Captain Helmsman combo crew, but now available to every faction.
Except the pirates.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'm actually quite particular to this kind of crew. And I think there's some extra value in this one in particular.
Yeah.
Because, I mean... It's at its best on gunships that suffer from really tiny cargo holds.
Yeah.
And
like La Vampira, just staying within this little excerpt here.
Yeah, I'm thinking stuff that's got like 1, 2, or in that case 3. But 3 is kind of like acceptable for a gunship. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Right,
you can outfit it as you need it.
Yeah, so for ships that got tiny cargo, staying mercenary for a little bit, the Bosun's Bane. I think that's got like triple S base move, a 2S cannon, 1 mast, and 1 cargo.
Yeah, this would be like the ideal crew for that.
Yeah.
I think HMS Nautilus has 3.
Yeah.
But I guess England has this type of crew native to them anyway, so you don't actually need that.
Yeah, they've got 2 of them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like some kind of 9.3 master out there with like no cargo but really good armament.
Maybe amongst the Americans or the French.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that there are like a couple ships that are just perfect for this one crew that are not the English.
Maybe some actual cursed ones.
Yeah. Yes. Isn't there like some cursed gunship that has like 1 or wait? Is it Hellfire has 2?
Yeah,
Hellfire has 2.
Yeah.
The Strix in Ocean's Edge has 1, and I think an L + S base move.
Yeah, I think Strix has
2
L
S
move in
cannons.
2 spaces. Pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
But still,
I might be thinking of the Chicken which has 0 cargo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, still, on like those ships in particular, you can afford to put this and then figure out if there's another ability you'd like to throw on the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's quite useful. I would actually say I do like the other version more just because it's more unique. Kind of like going back to what God Mason said. It's like kind of like this Nemo is kind of like an upgrade in utility, but like a downgrade in uniqueness. But because of the expatriate keyword, he is still pretty unique still as a crew. Because you could use him. I'm thinking about like the minor factions too, like a long ship or maybe.
Some of those Corsairs maybe.
Yeah, or even like
with Jade.
The original Grand Temple, maybe something like that. I don't know.
Original Grand Temple's perfect.
But yeah, I would probably. It's kind of for me. This one is kind of like I would use this version of Nemo in 100 points or less, maybe, and then like bigger games, I would still prefer the original on like the Saber or a 10 master stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
The next one is Duke Lars. He's 7-point crew. Links to the Vampira, which is that submarine. And then he's got Expatriate, Secret Hold, and Helmsman. So that's really interesting. I don't think the link is great because of Secret Hold, but that's fine. He could see use on the Treasure Island, probably.
I may have made a mistake.
Okay.
I think he may have been the one who linked to Treasure Island originally.
Okay.
And that version of Castro I was talking about linked to the Vampira.
Okay.
I may have gotten them mixed up.
Yeah. Yeah, either way, it's a pretty cool crew for the Mercs to have. Although they don't have a lot of gold runners, at least they got this guy. I could put him on a 10 master maybe that's being used as a hybrid. I'm thinking maybe the Shui Jian with Duke Lars and a captain, an explorer or something. I don't know, something like that.
Or the Celtic Fury, maybe.
Yeah. I think he has some niche usage on a few
Ooh, actually, he's an
got
expat. You could put him on the Bauschon.
Yeah, you could do a lot of stuff. Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Does the Bauschon have S on board, though? Or the S unload?
Yeah,
I think it does.
Oh,
either that, or you could just bring a hoist to hoist the stuff off of it.
That, or the alternative is you could go the Cavendish route.
Oh,
Warlord Cavendish, I mean, and then just throw Mistress Ching on.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, that's true.
Although that's kind of expensive.
Yeah. It could be done. Although taking treasure from a 10 master is usually hard.
Yeah.
So
it's like trying to take one piece of candy from a pile of 200,000 babies.
Yeah. I don't see
Which is kind of a strange metaphor, I know.
Yeah.
Under treasure ship, I only see they can move S after loading or unloading cargo, so it doesn't work. It's not that Dorys type thing with the voucher.
Oh, darn.
So I guess it kind of would mess that up a bit, but oh well.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right. Wilhelm Jones is a 9-pointer. Expat, loyal, cursed. If an enemy ship is within S of the ship, you can use this ship's action for the turn to try to possess a target.
One of those guys.
So, all right. So this is...
It's like a mercenary Papa Doc, kind of.
We talked about Papa Doc a little bit in the last podcast, didn't we, Ben?
Yeah. Yep.
What was the verdict? Can you remind me again?
Yeah, it was pretty terrible, but the pirate code ruling that you can use a different action if you fail the roll is really key. So it made it go from like completely unusable to like maybe like in the realm of gimmicky possibility. But
to niche use.
I
would put this ability on something that could submerge.
Yeah, Expatriate
like this on a submarine.
So basically make it a more expensive version of Edward Lowe and the Locker.
Yeah, like the Mercury maybe. I don't know. USS Mercury.
Oh wait, actually I had a thought. Pirate plus Papa Doc, Locker plus Edward Lowe, and this plus whatever, and just follow stuff around and kidnap crew.
Yeah. I do have a
really...
Yeah.
You know what I would call that fleet? Okay, I'm going to get into
games
here.
Like that, so, yeah. I call it.
All your crew belong to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, actually, no. Is there a third crew with this ability?
Yeah, Edmund.
There's a third ship with this ability.
Yes, Sir Edmund.
Folly has this.
Dang, wait.
Yeah.
All right. I forgot about Edmund.
Yeah.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, but the English don't have any submarines officially.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be interesting to see how this plays out. Okay, suppose you put Jones on, let's say, for sake of argument, the Mercury from America.
Mm-hmm.
The last bit of his ability, its nationality changes to match the nationality of this ship. Would the crew he captures become American or mercenary?
Think American.
I think. Wait, does expatriate affect the nationality of a ship?
Technically, it makes it mercenary. I think.
Give it the keyword.
Yeah, it gives the keyword. The ship retains its original nationality, but other crew with a Merc nationality may also use their abilities on board. So. Yeah.
Okay.
So you could make people American, kind of, or whatever other faction has subs.
Okay. I wanted to say something earlier. This idea of just swarming stuff with crew possessing abilities here. Why does it sort of remind me of the whole "Do you know the way Ugandan Knuckles" meme? You've got a bunch of things like underneath you, and they're just kind of bothering you and not really doing much. Maybe that's kind of tangential, but that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna make a crew about a fleet about that and called "Crew You Know the Way," and it's going to be really stupid and ineffective. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna write that down.
All right. I look forward to taking a look at that maybe in the future. Whenever you get around to making that.
All right.
Right.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the
Nice.
That's the end.
All right.
But not the end of the episode, though, right? Because I think we talked about.
We got some other stuff. I was wondering
that's
what you guys...
pretty much the end of the custom stuff. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, there are like 9 more pieces.
Yeah, we'll cover them.
But we've already gone on quite a bit.
Yeah, we've already
Next
done
time.
Yeah.
Next time.
I was actually wondering your guys' thoughts on the Rules for Thought #1 thread. Basically, for anybody listening, I did the rules survey recently. You can find it on pretty much all the websites. I posted everywhere. The results came in, and I'm going to highlight in a new thread series over the course of the next few months, about once a week or so, or maybe slightly more often. I'm going to highlight some replies I thought were especially thought-provoking. So, under the question, are there any changes you would make to how islands and terrain are placed? Somebody said, standard maps should be released. Game setup already takes a lot of time. So I thought that was a really interesting response. So I don't know what you guys thought of it.
I think I posted a response. Did I post a response to that in particular? Maybe I partially. No, wait, no, I didn't. I must have typed it up and then just gone, oh, I've got nothing interesting to say. But I like that idea a bit, but not so much due to game setup, but because how I think it would impact fleet construction, because I think some of them could shift the meta a little bit. Yeah. Some of the turn-based game setup rules means that you're kind of likely to not encounter all that many extreme, or at least in my play group, I have some people who are really apathetic about where they put stuff and putting up terrain or anything, which means I haven't been able to do these really crazy game table setups, and I'm sure that you guys have encountered more of that, but having a sort of ready-to-go environment would benefit somebody like me who spends probably 45 minutes setting the game up and doesn't really get satisfied with the playboard.
Yeah, setup time does take a while, and I think it would be good for new players too, because they wouldn't have as much to deal with. So,
Yeah, I'm of two opinions a little bit. I like this idea, but at the same time, I'm not particularly fond of it. I like it because, it would speed things up. However, I'm not fond of it because then you take away the customizability of what you can do.
Yeah.
And also, then you would have, instead of, building a fleet to exploit another fleet's weakness, you'd build fleets to exploit weaknesses of maps.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though, because I think that adds another strategy, another focus to building a fleet.
Yeah, it could make sense.
There are maps where fog hoppers could genuinely be competitive. As much as I wish they were, I think they are basically nothing more than a novelty.
That makes sense, yeah. I think one thing we kind of developed over the course of the thread, you can see in the responses, I like the idea of, if the game came back, keep the rules similar, keep the customizability for most games, but then give players the option of the map. Like maybe in a value box, you get a map, and then...
Like the plunder pack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then maybe you even get 2 maps. One is very generic, and then one is a scenario map. Vixen kind of came up with this scenario idea, which is kind of similar to the adventure book from a while back. But anyway, so
I'm not particularly hot about that idea, because that takes it more away from a constructible strategy game and takes it more into the realm of a full-fledged RPG.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I think I like the options though. You could do regular customized setup like we're used to, and then a general set specific map, and then for the people
like a T2 map,
you could do that too. So I like the options. But,
I mean, one of my other thoughts is specifically addressed to you, Xerex. The existence of official maps does not necessarily mean that you can't do custom stuff, especially if you've got an advanced group who prefers to play on custom environments instead of the static ones that are already out there or would already be out there.
Yeah. I mean, I like to string terrain together sometimes when we do standard games. And I recall this from a game we played a long time ago. I strung a whole bunch of reefs together that neatly split the board in 2.
Yep.
So, stuff like that.
Yeah, kind of like CG3. Yeah.
Well, a little bit, except this one was more straight line. There was no gap.
Yeah.
And I remember this game because I wound up on one side of the map by myself, and my brothers were on the other side and killed each other.
Yeah, that's why I like whirlpools so much. I love whirlpools, but anyway.
Oh, yeah. I would like to comment on a 3-player dynamic that I have found.
Yeah.
So far in my limited experience, it tends to be kind of it's like a chair where one leg is shorter than the others. It kind of just like wobbles around, and in that same way, the game tends to sort of wobble around, and it feels like one person is being kind of picked on at times, whereas somebody else can just kind of run gold and not really need to worry about anything that's going on.
That's happened that would a couple times.
Yeah, you'd think that would encourage a sort of balanced fleet construction, but the problem is one of the members of my play group doesn't really want to win as much as just kind of have fun with gimmicks and kind of go out in a blaze of glory every game.
Yeah. Reminds me of like what I've read some of Cadet Captain Mike's battle reports. Your friend reminds me of him, kind of.
Yeah.
And sometimes me when I'm on a winning streak and I care less about winning the more I win. So then I start getting crazy. So
yeah.
If I haven't lost the game in a while, I'll probably use like weirder and weirder fleets. So.
Anyway. It's like, look out, here come those possessor dudes.
Yeah, or mind control or something like that.
Yeah. Although I thought you said mind control proved way more effective than you thought it would.
Yeah, it's been pretty good so far. So I'm due to use it again finally for the first time in a while. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Fun strategy. Any other thoughts on the map idea or no?
Well, if you did bring maps in, I agree that they should not be in every pack.
No,
they wouldn't be like pack things. You'd like have to go out of your way and buy say $10 to $20 mat.
Or in a value box
for tournament play.
Yeah, in the value boxes, like from DJC or Ocean's Edge,
or
just like make plunder packs more available and more collectible.
Yeah.
Like, if the game came back and you had the plunder pack returned with it, you'd still have it at whatever it was, like 50, but take away the 10 and put a different map, in each box, kind of, along with, 3 or 4 packs worth of stuff.
Yeah. Or even, like, the scavenger pack boxes, which had, 11 ships or something like that. But,
I think the breakdown was, 2 packs of Savage Shores, 1 pack of Fire and Steel, and 1 pack of Rise of the Fiends.
Yeah.
I thought it was, 3 packs of Savage Shores.
Yeah,
maybe
that sounds
4.
Right. I think it was 3, yeah.
And the scavenger
packs... I only ever opened 1.
Yeah.
Of those things.
I still haven't
the
opened any,
scavenger packs consisted of those packs plus, the 1... special edition ship, and then 1 piece of a 6-master.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what you could do. You could make pieces of maps to make the maps collectible.
I think that would be really frustrating.
Well, that, or you could sort of assemble, I'm not sure this is all that good an idea. You could assemble these pieces of maps into a giant playing board if you wanted, with some sort of grandiose scale to it, but I'm not so
make
sure.
the maps 2-sided. On one side, you've got your standard little.
map. That's a really good idea. On the other side,
you've got your bottom left corner of your.
That's a really good idea because it comes
something.
with that's perfect because you get something for a small game. Like if a new player buys that, they've got a game board and a few ships to play with. But if somebody buys them all, they've got a really interesting game to play.
Yeah.
Besides, you could still play a smaller game on the flip side that's got the piece of the bigger board on it. It'd just be more interesting.
Yeah.
Or a little bit more different to add some differentiation to the game.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, you should post that in the thread. Yeah, definitely post that.
I might post that.
And also, you could make a point adding on to that with the general set-specific map versus the scenario map. You could have that be double-sided. So then you could pick which one you wanted and just have 2 maps on one, piece of whatever parchment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
I would like to mention this would be an interesting recurring segment to have in these odd-numbered episodes.
Yeah, we could talk about the rules for thought stuff. It makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
It's good brainstorming.
What would you make the maps out of?
I don't know.
What would you make them out of?
Probably
I would think some kind of paper, because our friend, the guy who played with us for the Winter Economy game, he got a plunder pack, and he has a delusion and a playmat, and we played a small deathmatch on it, and it's cool to look at the playmat, but because of the plastic stuff and the way it was folded, it doesn't like to unfold.
You're right.
So that would be like my deal with the maps. It's like, okay, I've got a map, but because it was been folded so tightly, like the middle part of it sticks up like a pyramid.
Yep,
and I can't play a game on it unless I like leave it under like my unabridged dictionary for like a week.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had that problem when I've used it in the past too. I think maybe kind of like a fabric or cloth, similar to the stuff I use for my games. Or even like
I can see that working.
There's a Dreadfleet map that a lot of people rave about. I think it's kind of cloth, sort of, but I'm not totally sure. Something like that could probably work better. Like roll it up.
And you could factor that into the cost of the pack to make it more expensive, whatever. From the business perspective, it's like, okay, we're gonna print the map on this thing, fold it up, kind of, make it two-sided, put it in this box, and 90% of the price is this thing, plus, you get some extra stuff.
Yeah.
Because you were a good person, you bought our product. We're rewarding you.
All right. I like how this is like a good brainstorming. We already came up with a bunch of good ideas for this, so it's not in the thread already. So. The next segment, I'll let God Mason introduce this one about pirate-themed video games.
So something that I kind of wanted to bring up is, so pirate-themed video games as a whole, I don't think there have actually been all that many.
Well, there aren't a whole lot of good ones that I'm aware of.
Definitely. I haven't played a lot of the older ones, if I'm honest. I've only played a handful of them, but I do have a couple recommendations. I'm not going to get into all of them this episode because I'd actually like to turn this into a recurring theme for at least a few odd-numbered episodes. And I won't have played every last game on my list, unfortunately. Well, not at this moment, anyway. I'm actually going to ask you guys which of these games... I've got a list of 6 so far. This list may be added to in time. I've got a list of 6 games that I would like you to actually decide which one I talk about this episode. So they are the SOE online version of the game, Sea of Thieves, Windward, Puzzle Pirates, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and Skull and Bones.
I am not really a video gamer, so you can talk about whatever the heck you want. I mean, of those 6, I've heard of the online version of the game, and I wanted to play it.
Me too.
But because I was a good little boy, and I was like, under 13 when the game was running and that whole thing was out, I didn't. I've heard of Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Me too.
But to me, it's just, it's more Assassin's Creed. Be done with it already.
That's one of the ones I haven't
played. Halo and Call of Duty, it's like, oh, for Pete's sake, just end them already.
As someone who likes Halo, I partially have to disagree with you. Partially because I think 343 Studios or Industries, whatever they call themselves, has totally made a hash of the story and the multiplayer. Anyway, I guess this would probably be a good time to talk about the Sony Online Entertainment version of the game, which I actually played. I don't remember a lot about it. I never spent a single cent on it, which meant that I didn't actually have all that good of a time with it. Because the way it worked was, it was a lot like just the base game, but when you logged in for the first time, I think they gave you basically 2 or 3 packs worth of stuff, only everybody got the same starter kit, and it wasn't a very good starter kit, if I'm honest. I remember there being a 1-masted sloop. I think there was a 4-master. I don't remember which one. I don't remember being very good either. There was also a sea monster. I don't remember which one. It was one of the squid.
The Kimnemod, maybe?
It might have been.
Because if I understand the way it came out, the Sony game of the game was, I think, run from about the time Ocean's Edge was released up until the game's ending. So they may have started like, okay, you're getting like, you know, a pack of Ocean's Edge, but everyone gets the same pack of Ocean's Edge.
You know, that might have been it. Actually, speaking of sets in general, I think they had every set up to Ocean's Edge in the game when I played it. And they may have added the later sets as they came out, but because there was so little you could do as somebody who wasn't willing to spend money, I didn't actually put all that much time into it. There was some really neat stuff about it. One of which was how everything was given sort of idle animations. Yeah. So instead of just being kind of stationary models or anything.
Yeah, you got the flags fluttering, the sails kind of.
Yes, exactly. And
water animations.
Waving there. Oh, yes, the water animations were quite nice, too.
See monsters blinking where their eyes are. Figure out where they are.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure there's gameplay of it online somewhere to watch.
Yeah, there's a little bit on YouTube. Yeah, mostly like an ad, I think.
Yeah, demonstration stuff. It was kind of neat to play as a whole, and I think as an idea, it was not terrible. Although the UI was kind of clunky and it wasn't always easy to find a game. The really big drawback, and I think you guys will get it, is how much they charged you to get booster packs. They wanted $4, and while that was the price for packs that you could get from a store, that's the real.
Really?
Yeah. Back when the game was in print, it was $4 to get yourself a basic pack.
Huh. Because I recall getting packs for like, you know, $1 at Target of like, you know, Davy Jones' Curse.
That was probably after the game went out of print.
Oh, okay, probably that.
Yeah, because once the game went out of print, all those... I mean, there was like that Target box thing. I don't remember what it's called, where you got like 20 packs.
No, I didn't get those. I would get like, you know, individual packs. So like the game went out in 2008. Mm-hmm. I first started getting packs like in 2006 or something when I was in 6th grade. Huh. So
it's possible that, I mean, I can speculate all day, although I'll never get the real reason maybe why you were able to get them for $1 each. I'm fairly sure the MSRP of packs was $4, and I remember paying $4 my entire life. Yeah. Every time I went out to buy them. But maybe they were trying to get rid of overstock. Maybe they knew that Davy Jones' Curse had a bad print run, you know, with all those scuffs, and they were trying to get that off their hands.
Or I could be remembering it wrong. I mean,
you may also be remembering it right and just got lucky.
Yeah. Well, I do remember that the Davy Jones' Curse boxes. Every so often they'd go on sale, and you could like get one for like $9.99, which I knew that, you know, there was
$9.99 though.
Yeah. Well, I knew there was like a tax, so it would round up to like 10.
Oh yeah.
So you could get like 3 packs or something worth for like $10. Yeah. And like every so often, my brothers and I, all 3 of us, would get like a box each, and that happened at least once or twice.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the problems being, I'm going to tie this back into the SOE version of the game. For the same price as this online pack, which was not tangible, you couldn't, you know, pop the ships out, build them, and have a collection. You got something that was stored in the cloud, and then when the game went down, I think it was taken offline after 2010.
Yeah.
The date's out there somewhere. Yeah. You know, all your money was gone. If you spent enough, you were compensated with USS Denver. You had to spend $25 or more to get that. Which is not an amazing ship, but has, you know, turned into kind of an interesting collector's item.
I got it in an eBay lot like half a year ago.
Yeah, I got one for, I think, like $6 at some point.
No, I think it was like an entire set of Ocean's Edge, and it included the Zeus. Like everything.
Like the LEs?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really, really good deal. Wait, I might remember.
I think I got it for less than 100.
I think
I don't remember.
I think exactly.
I remember. I can look it up.
Yeah, I remember something like that on eBay a while ago, but I think it must have been a different one because I think it went for like $230 or $190 or something. So.
Yeah, there was some crazy lot that went for $250 or higher at some point.
Yeah, there was one where I think it was you and I who were bidding, and you managed to outbid me at the last second.
Yes, that
I got it for like something close to like $260, $70.
Yeah, that. If you'd like to hear it, that lot turned out to be a mix of good and not so good. So that's how I got my copy of USS Mercury, which I'd been hunting for forever. It also came with the card for just the deck plate for Mobilis, I think. But it didn't come with Mobilis or Thane Heartless or the Abandoned Crew. Wait, no, it came with 2 copies of the Abandoned Crew.
Oh, dang.
Which was really irritating, because then I ended up with spares of the least valuable piece of a super valuable pack, and that's Oh wait,
I
no,
wasn't into that because there was like a whole bunch of South China Sea stuff I could see in it. Plus, I think did it have the Zeus and the Guishan in it? That bot.
I think it might have, because I feel like I've got maybe a spare Zeus. I might have. I think I had a spare Guichuan that I traded away at some point. I don't quote. Actually, you could run through my trade history if you want. Maybe it was Celtic Fury.
Oh, that was me and you. I know we traded I traded for you to get the Celtic Fury.
Yeah.
To replace like the one that was like, it was 2/3 Celtic Fury, 1/3 Shuizan. And so I traded to get the entire Celtic Fury, and then I turned my spare into the first ever custom 10, the Yaoshan.
Okay. Yeah.
That's cool.
Either way, yeah, that lot had it had a pretty decent amount of stuff, and actually it had a full set of Mysterious Islands SE box chips.
Oh, dang.
They were not all in good condition. I think Independence was literally glued together, like having multiple broken masts.
I want that one bad.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the SE stuff from that was not in good shape, but it didn't really matter to me because I'm not going to get it elsewhere.
Yeah,
they're just too hard to find.
Yeah.
There was a mix of really valuable stuff in not so great condition, and then a lot of kind of generic stuff. But is there anything else to say about the SOE thing? I'm trying to remember.
I'm recalling some old discussions that I perused briefly on mini trading here from when people played it and then posted about it here on the site. And a lot of people seem to think that the Grand Temple broke that game somehow.
Probably did.
I know. I got 2 things. The Wikipedia says it was ended by Sony Online Entertainment on January 31st, 2011. So about 7 years ago. And then the other thing, I've learned most of what I know about it from the podcast with Red Dragon and Captain Ron, which I know I've linked in the first post of the podcast thread. I kind of brought that back in terms of the forum talk. It's blogtalkradio.com/Red Dragon, all one word. It's a really interesting podcast. It's pretty much only about the SOE online game. So they didn't really play the physical game much, if at all, but it's a really interesting podcast, and one of the only other Pirates CSG podcasts out there, so it's really cool. So I'd encourage you to check that out. I do know that the rules were a little bit different. I can't remember exactly what, because I haven't heard that podcast in a while, but it was actually played. The game was played a bit differently, and I know there was some kind of time limit. I don't know if it was half an hour.
I remember that now distinctly. Well, not actually fuzzily, but there may have been an overall game time limit. I'm fairly certain there was a turn time limit, because this wasn't like those turn-based app games that you can buy where, you can just kind of do it at your leisure, like Words with Friends type stuff, which I think is kind of the ideal implementation of an online version of this, but I'm getting off topic. There was definitely a time limit.
Yeah. They said it was like one of the biggest problems too, because you could, I don't know if it was a bug that they fixed, but you could like time people out or something and like win because of it. I don't know. There was some controversy.
I think I experienced that. Also, some people took forever to take their turns. They weren't like there at their computer.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a pain to play against people who were just not ready to go, which is really strange.
They were AFK like a whole bunch of the time.
Yeah. And that was another problem.
Yeah, I love listening to the podcast by Red Dragon and Captain Ron, because it's so interesting to hear about like playing like back in the day and stuff like that. And there were like all these tournaments, and like both of them played like hundreds of games. Partly because you could play a lot of games in a short time. There were a lot of players. Some of the tournaments would have like dozens of players, so It's really interesting.
I remember
I wish I had been around for it. Kind of similar to Xerix, I never played, but it was basically just because I wasn't aware there was any online community for the game. At that point, I wasn't aware of anything Pirates related online or like the MT or the SOE game, so I didn't find out.
Yeah,
about
I mean,
that.
I didn't discover mini trading until I think 2014 or something.
Yeah, that's when you joined from your account. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found it in like the fall of 2015, and then I did I want to say I found the site in late 2015. I was active for a few months, and then I disappeared for like a year.
Yeah, but yeah, I just realized the SOE game went out January 2011. That's pretty much kind of when I started lurking, I think, on MT and Pojo.
Oh,
I
bad
think I
timing.
just missed it. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. Something else I do remember about the SOE game, and my memory may be off here, but I remember it was really hard to find games at times. It might have been when I was playing, like what time of day or something, but I remember it could take, like, I want to say up to an hour to find anybody who's playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember them talking about that because it kind of declined back in 2009 from that other podcast, and they talked about how, like, if it wasn't a tournament, it would be kind of tough to find like an opponent at your like play level and also like collection level. There was some like, I don't know, it's kind of like a Wild West situation, I feel like. So like you needed like some of the events to be competitive and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Oh well.
If you're able to send me that podcast, I'd like to listen to it because that might jog my memory.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm going to, it's blogtalkradio.com/reddragon, and I'll try to remember to link it in this post for anybody listening. I'll try to link it in the post you find this at. And then,
it's also on the first page of the podcast thread.
Yeah, I've definitely advertised it a bit. I just haven't listened to it in a while since, I think the last time I listened to it was when I was redoing pictures for my past BRs, but anyway.
Oh, wow, the last episode of that was uploaded August 2nd, 2009.
Yep, exactly. And actually, I did manage to find eventually Captain Ron on Twitter, but I don't know if he'll ever come around. He responded a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be on an episode, but hopefully someday if I can get him on here.
I'd like to listen to that, even if I'm not a part of that one. That would be a really cool episode.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to, but I'll try.
Sounds intriguing.
I'll keep trying. But back to the video game thing, the only Pirates-related video game I played is actually The Curse of the Black Pearl for Game Boy Advance. Back in like 2003 or something. But it was not good. It was not a good, well-done adaptation. The controls were weird. It was too difficult. It wasn't very interesting. And I don't know if it was my game pack or the game in general, but you couldn't save. Like, you couldn't save your game, your progress. So I had to start from the beginning every time, yeah. It was probably
What style of game was it? Was it like an RPG or a platformer? Or?
Yeah, kind of a combination. I don't know, I'm on the Wikipedia. I don't really know what to call it, really. I don't know. It's just kind of a generic game where you just walk around as Jack and, like, take people out and, like, get coins, but anything you could buy was like super expensive, and then you'd expend all this effort to get a pistol, and then like a flintlock, and then you'd have like 3 or 4 bullets, and then like you'd finally go to use it, and it's like really inaccurate, and then you run out of ammo like really quick. So, which is kind of
that sounds historically accurate a little bit, but too much so.
Yeah, exactly. It was accurate, but it made a really difficult game to play. So. And then
it sounds like a semi-RPG kind of thing with one character.
Yeah.
You see, everything was from Jack's perspective.
Yeah.
Or a boss rush type of game.
Yeah. And it was not very well made. I'm seeing on the Wikipedia it says it was generally unfavorable reviews. Simply put, the bare minimum has been put into this game. And then the ship
combat. Every movie video game in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Well,
pretty
still
much.
Today, really.
Yeah. And then the ship combat was really weird because the ships moved like really fast, and it was like almost impossible. Like it was your little sloop with like almost no firepower against like 3 or 4 like big galleons. It was awful. So, and I couldn't save, so I never got anywhere. So it almost always got passed on for other games. So,
yeah. In time, I'll talk about the other games on my list. I'll prioritize the ones I've played. actually, since I know so little about Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and I think I won't play it, I might as well knock it out on this episode. The thing is, Assassin's Creed, because it's one of those game series that is basically the same thing every year, I kind of had mixed feelings about whether or not I was going to buy it. And from what I heard, that game is really short.
Oh, okay.
Like I thought it was less than 8 hours. And for a $60 game, that's not much.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I've bought it's not a pirate game, but like if you're going to look at value for money for any game really, games like Fallout or Ark Survival Evolved are some of the best value for money out there. At least if you ask me, because those have hundreds or thousands of hours and they're, cheap as dirt. Whereas, Assassin's Creed, they're kind of short games in recent history as far as I know. And you're paying full AAA price. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually heard a lot about that game. I know of a few people that like it a lot, or maybe they just like the series. But I will say I saw a couple short videos on YouTube. It looks really cool, but I don't like Xerix. I'm not a gamer. I used to be kind of, but it was just like Game Boy, GameCube back in like elementary middle school, mostly early high school. So I'm not a gamer anymore.
I mean, I don't have like a PlayStation or an Xbox. I mean, the only game I play is a free-to-play online thing.
Yeah.
That's not about pirates at all. It's like medieval city building.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, something else. I've got to kind of whet your appetite for when I talk about puzzle pirates, which is something that will come way later. Ask me about Bicep, which was my character name, because I was kind of an interesting person when I played that.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll have to save that until later.
Yeah, preview.
All right.
I will say, not necessarily pirate related, but there are a few games that look really interesting to me. One of them is Naval Action, which was brought to my attention.
Yes.
That was brought
I've heard of that. I very nearly pulled the trigger on that.
Yeah, I
to
can't
download and play it, but I have a laptop and I don't have much memory on my laptop, so I don't want my computer to crash.
Yeah, I was gonna say that game requires like a ton of specs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yours is like overheating every day. So it's like,
Yeah, I'm eyeballing or looking to maybe get a gaming computer, like a full-fledged gamer's computer.
Yeah, we talked about
that I can like edit videos, play Vassal on, all that stuff.
Yeah,
we finally get around to the world game.
Yeah, I know we want to test to see if a better laptop would actually be better with the Vassal lag. But anyway, that's like a video topic for YouTube probably. But yeah, Naval Action looks really awesome. I will say the few reviews I saw, people say that you have to spend a ton of time on it to really get the most value out of it, because like you start off as a newbie and it's tough to advance. So it's, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's basically is it like EVE Online but set in the Atlantic Ocean?
I have no idea.
I don't think
you're talking to a bunch to not gamers really.
EVE Online,
not
I guess,
video gamers.
Summarized, is an utterly insane RPG or MMORPG about spaceships. And I guess a lot of people, do trading and running goods, but others make war, and they make war like you would not believe. Like some of the biggest ships in that game have real world values in the thousands of dollars.
Nice.
And there are some really crazy stories about people like hijacking thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars worth of people's goods or spaceships.
That's
real pirates.
Like literally,
space pirates.
It's just that, and that kind of makes me wonder if Naval Action can replicate some of that. I sort of hope it can.
I'm seeing it has like 6 out of 10 reviews. It's like $40 on Steam. I don't know. Open world multiplayer sandbox, naval combat game immersing players into the experience of the Age of Sail and stuff. So. Yeah, enormous open world, beautiful ships, realistic sailing, historical gunnery, and then it gives all the system requirements, which of course is kind of intimidating. So
I've seen a couple playthroughs of that. There was like one I watched where the guy playing, he was using like a Centissimo Trinidad ship module or model or something. where it performed like the actual Santissima, and he like soloed an entire fleet or something, but by the end of it, he was barely sailing.
Yeah, sounds kind of weird.
So,
and
I don't know. I really want to try this game, but
yeah, me
I'm
too.
broke.
I know. Yeah, I would need like a lot more time and a lot more computer power.
Yeah.
If I had the time and money, I would, but
yeah, exactly.
I think this will be one of those things that I never really get to experience just because I can't invest everything I'd need to in this game.
Now that
time I kind of have, but money not really.
Yeah, I'm looking at EVE Online, God Mason, and it's actually, I didn't realize it until I'm looking at the pictures, but I'm pretty sure it's the game I looked up like a year or so ago, and I read a little bit about it, and it does sound incredibly interesting. It's like really, it's just like, it's like, I don't know, it's some kind of bizarre like simulation of the real world with like collusion, and like there's so many people playing that it's like, it's like
I'd advise looking up some of the craziest stories about faction wars, like literally like websites like Something Awful, like waging war against like the conglomerate of like Reddit and other websites. It's like it's like you're taking all of their angst and it's well, you know, like Facebook wouldn't be organized enough to do anything like that, but EVE Online is like literally insane. Oh, it's mostly a spreadsheet simulator, but when it gets stuff going, it's like
it sounds really interesting and the type of thing I would like. It sounds like the type of thing I would want to waste my time on if I had more time, because it reminds me of like some of my dreams with like campaign games with like a lot of players of like pirates campaign games and like grand strategy and like orchestrating like crazy like sneak attacks and like all sorts of like government stuff and alliances. Like it sounds up my alley, but I don't think I'll get to it. So.
It probably is.
Do you play this? Have you played it or thought about playing it?
EVE Online?
Yeah.
I absolutely couldn't because, I mean, as I mentioned, at this point in my life, I don't really have the time to invest in something that serious, nor the money, because I think you have to pay a recurring subscription, and you might need a better computer than I've got.
Yeah, I don't like
but I mean, you can kind of make up your mind on it by just kind of figuring out more what gameplay is like, and if it seems intriguing, go read some of the stories of the things people get up to in EVE Online because it's unbelievable.
I am now intrigued. I am now intrigued, and like, if this is reasonably free to play, I might consider this.
I don't think it's free to play.
Darn.
I don't like the recurring. I wish it was just a one-time thing.
Okay, wait. One of the top things I typed in when it was EVE Online, inside the epic online space battle that cost gamers $300,000.
What?
Yeah, I don't got
with
that.
7,500 players involved.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
Is that like, you know, like a battle gone wrong or something? Or is that just like what it costs?
I think that was just like a tremendous faction war. Like, as I mentioned earlier, like the ships have a degree of real world value to them. I don't know exactly how they figured that out, but it looks like EVE Online is $15 a month, but you can get it for like, I guess you can get it for cheaper. Yeah, I don't have that or the time. Oh wait, it says, or you can grind for hours and hours and hours in game to play for free.
Well, I can grind. I don't need to sleep anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing on Wikipedia it says virtual crime. It says piracy in the ship-to-ship sense is part of the game, as is protection, racketeering, theft, and ransom.
Yeah, no, it's literally it's space crime simulator.
It's like the real world. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
sounds
only
amazing.
a little bit more lawless.
Yeah. Oh my god, be hilarious.
Yeah. Oh
well,
god,
Ben,
the miniature trading fleet.
Ben, if you and I ever get our heads put together, kind of, and we ever decide to, like, you know, become space pirates, let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm down. It sounds fun. It says, oh my god. It says in 2009, a player alliance name is known as Goon Swarm.
Oh yeah, that's something awful.
The defecting director then stripped Band of Brothers of large quantity of assets and disbanded the alliance. I don't know. And then it says a player-run bank was involved in a controversy when they withdrew 200 billion ISK, which I guess is the currency in the game, and converted it into real-world currency to pay for medical expenses.
Ooh. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's literally
gang warfare.
Yeah. In space.
Yeah.
It's Space Crips versus Space Bloods.
Yeah.
Jeepers.
It says there's 500,000 subscribers worldwide but that says 2013. So I don't have updated that.
Yeah, I saw a little thing that said it was discontinued in 2016.
I thought EVE Online was still going.
It says in 2016 they added a limited free-to-play version. So I think it's still going.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, if I go to the thing on never mind. Yeah, I think it looks like it's still running, but I don't know exactly where you would find like a community to get with. Yeah, it says it's got 88,000 active subscribers to the community on Reddit.
Yeah, exactly. Reddit would be a place to go to find people.
They have their own Twitter feed, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, the top post on the Reddit thing for EVE is, how do I sell a hangar full of corpses? So I just impulse bought 20 corpses for about 10 million off an auction. Most corpses are going for one.
Like the Cursed would do. So we've got a shipyard full of dead people. Anybody want them? No? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just feed them to our beasts.
Yeah. That's all I've got about games for this episode. There will be more in the future from me.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah,
is there anything else to add to this episode?
If anybody listening has any experience with naval action or other video games, and especially this EVE Online, just for kicks, post about it if you want. If you're part of some online piracy crew, if you want.
Yeah,
in fact, the thing I play is like really tame compared to this that I'm looking at now.
Yeah.
And it takes place like on land, and it's vaguely medieval.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's up in the valley.
The other post on
Reddit
says, "I just killed someone for the first time. I'm so excited." And then another one says, "Does anyone know if drug production is a good source of income?" So,
yeah, it depends. Are you talking about real world or in the game?
Yeah, really.
Because in the real world, it depends on the drug. And if you get caught.
Yeah. And probably the same in the game, I'm going to guess.
Well, you never know. Theoretically, that's not real, so...
Yeah, well, either way.
I think it'd be interesting. They could introduce, like, Bitcoin and stuff like that into the EVE.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Bitcoins. Is like, do they use Bitcoins?
They probably could.
I personally don't, because it's like, it's virtual money, but it's real. It's like, okay, yeah, this is too good to be true. This can't be real.
Yeah, I mean, as far as games go, just addressed to the audience, if there's anybody out there who has played like a game that we haven't actually talked about a bunch and you have any thoughts you'd like to share on it, specifically like if the game is still worth going out of your way to pick up, because like if it's some short-lived online game from 15 years ago that was neat but hasn't existed for 15 years, or if it's just like something that hasn't aged well, that would still be interesting to hear about.
Yeah.
Oh, one that I heard about recently, just chiming in real quick. I saw like someone's playthrough of this, something called Don't Sink, which was like a 2D side-scrolling pirate-like game that had like the 8-bit artwork.
Oh, yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah, I haven't played this. Oh, I think there's like some other like it's like I want to say it's like Terraria, but it's pirate themed. I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, this is like it's I'm looking at it on Steam, and it's apparently so new that there's like nothing really about it.
Oh, it's in early access.
Oh, cool. Well, it came out casual adventure. It's like an RPG thing. You're some kind of pirate. It's a side scroller by the looks of it, and from what I remember, and it's got the really simple up close 8-bit artwork. Zoomed out, it looks okay, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw a couple preview videos about a month ago. One was for Sea of Thieves, and then one was for Skull and Bones. They both look decent, but I probably won't play either one of them. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about those more in a later podcast. I have a little bit of experience with Sea of Thieves, and let's talk about the Skull and Bones trailer at some point. But yeah.
Nice.
Is there any more for this podcast?
Probably not.
I think I've got to pick up my mom from a restaurant soon.
Yeah, it's just about 2 hours, so yeah, we're pretty good. All right.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything worthwhile to add. Really.
Yeah. Well, next episode we got the Mysterious Island set review, so that'll be kind of.
Which I'm excited for.
Yeah, I'm a little not excited.
Yeah, a lot of it will be terrible, but that's part of the fun. We get to rip on not so good ships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And find uses for others, which has surprised us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm just off the top of my head, when eventually you guys get to La Manila, I think I saw a review or a fleet about that that said it wasn't as bad as it actually looks.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I like it as like an underrated hybrid or maybe like a medical barge in a large game.
It'll haul around like a bunch of generic crew that people need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right.
All around fodder for sack.
Yeah.
That too. Well, Spain doesn't have anything to sack with.
Yeah, not really.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay, unless you count Sebastian Rojo.